name is Gregorio Alcantar, and I am the Financial Literacy Coordinator. Today, you're going to learn the difference between a need and a want, and then we're going to provide some tips, at least two major tips on how to control your spending urges. I'd like to start with a quote from Henry David Thoreau, who makes it very clear and very easy to understand that in order to be rich is to make your wants few. I make myself rich by making my wants few. And that's a very profound quote because if you can suppress, reduce, or eliminate the wants, you can become a better person for it, because then you're really distinguishing what is very important to you in your life than stuff that may not necessarily. There was also a comedian who used to say that sometimes Americans are just into buying stuff and not buying experiences. So what I'd like to do is actually first define what a need and a want is. There is this fine line. Well, there used to be a very thick line where it was very clear what a need was and what a want was. But over the years, at least what I've seen, is that it's actually gotten very, very narrow, to the point where it's a fine line now, where students have, or people in general have just thought, well, what I want is what I need. But there has to be a very clear distinction. So I am defining what a need is, which is things that are necessary for our survival. And so when we go ahead and clearly define what a need and a want is, then it makes it easier for us to understand. Where on the other hand, wants are things that we desire to make life more comfortable. And you are entitled to have wants. I'm not going to go ahead and eliminate that. That's okay. But because this presentation is trying to control your spending on wants, if you are trying to meet certain needs, or you're trying to meet certain goals, one of the ways is to go ahead and reduce those wants, delay gratification on those wants, so that you can go ahead and have things that you need. But you are definitely welcome to have wants. Is this a want or a need? This is a car. I don't know if it's new or not. All I know, it's a Honda. I don't even know if it's a small car or a large car. What do you guys think? It's a subjective decision, right? Is this a want or a need? Well, I don't know. I mean, if I am walking long distances to get to school to the point where it's affecting my health, I need a car. Or maybe I don't need a car. Maybe I can think of other ways to get to school, right? Where maybe I can take the bus. But you have to kind of decide, do you need it for your survival, or is it more of a desire? Now, if you need a car, that's good, but do you need a brand new car? Probably not. Probably you do, right? It depends on your situation. Here's another one. Tell me what this is for you. Is this a want or a need? What I see here is looks like it's an iPhone, or it's just a generic smartphone. Seems like one is a 5 inches. The other one seems like it's an XL model, or a, I don't know, 6-inch model. I need a phone. I want an iPhone. Now, as I mentioned, you guys are welcome to say, yes, you know, I like iPhone. I like Apple. That's okay. But the question is, how much is it really a need? How much is it a want? If you have your phone, for example, let's say you have a iPhone 5 and it's been good to you, even though now they're at iPhone 7, then it seems like you're maximizing on your phone, and you're kind of in the need want. But if every time you find yourself having to get a new phone just because it just came out, then it could probably be considered a want. But I just kind of go on both sides of the angle, because both of them can be fair as long as you can justify it. All right, here's another one. What is this? I'm getting hungry already just looking at it. Is this a want or a need? What do you guys think? Food is a need. Yes, I agree, it's a need. Is this a 12-inch sub? Is this a 6-inch? Right? Is this a premium sandwich? Is this a Subway sandwich? What is that, right? So again, it can go either way. It depends how you see it. Food, I would agree, it is a need, but it could also be considered a want when you kind of gauge it as the degree or level in terms of what is it that you're doing. For example, I need to eat, but I want to eat out, right? So that would be an example of another way to look at it. Another way to look at at a want is by understanding something called the want self versus the should self. That's another play on need versus want. Now, as you can see here, the want self demands instant gratification. It's almost like being addicted, right? The should self, or should self, on the other hand, looks to longer term interest. We went ahead and put here a little blurb here. To be happy in life, you must learn the difference between what you want versus need. And so these definitions is just to kind of help you understand that. Can we be both? Can we be a want self and a should self? Well, I guess we could, but it's like being left-handed and right-handed. You can use both hands, but which one are you more inclined to? For example, I myself am a right-hander, so for most things I like to throw a ball with my right hand. I could throw it with the left, but I prefer the right. And so when it comes to also trying to control your spending, are you having trouble controlling your spending because you find yourself in the want self who demands instant gratification, or are you the should self? It's not entirely all your fault. All right, so don't beat yourself hard on saying that, well, it's me. Let's step back a little bit and find out that maybe these influences could also be coming from family, friends, values, and society. For example, maybe family, right? Your immediate parents, your siblings, your extended family members. Maybe you see something, maybe you want it too. Maybe there's that pressure from friends, especially. Friends, I'm not sure if you know, but friends can be very expensive. And sometimes they can, something very dangerous called peer pressure can also influence you in terms of deciding, well, it seems like I have to get this because my friends, if I want to be part of that crowd, then I have to kind of accept that. What about the values? This does kind of fall in terms of the person. So, for example, if your values fall under, well, I like to wear nice clothes, and so I really don't, because I am this way, I have to be in this situation. But values can be other ways, so maybe you can share some values that can influence people's decisions in the chat. But here's the one that I think is really big, and sometimes it's out of my control, and maybe it's out of your control, and that's society. I can remember a time when, especially when the economy went down, which was between 2008 and, 2008, 2011, where people were losing their jobs and the economy was very bad. Many people turned into savings and being frugal, thinking about their money and things like that. But all of a sudden, it seems like now that we apparently have gone out of this recession, now society is going back to saying, well, it's okay to have wants. It's okay to go ahead and buy this. It's okay to accept the fact that maybe your phone was the latest model today, but tomorrow it's going to go ahead and be horrible. For example, today, Apple is having a big event where they're announcing the brand new computers that they have available. And so apparently after today, they're going to want to make you believe that the computer you have right now that you're probably listening to this podcast is worthless because now you're kind of past, right? And so that hurts because sometimes then we can't, that pressure, say, okay, well, am I okay? Am I having a problem with the way I see things? And the answer is no. I just want to let you know that you are controller of your own money. You decide how you would like to spend it. Here we're just providing some guidance on how to do it. But just know that it's not entirely your fault. Being a college student, especially those students who have applied for financial aid and are receiving financial aid balance checks that are supposed to last 15 weeks, that's like 3 or 4 months. We do get students who come in a month later and say, I don't know, where did my money go? And I'd like to help you kind of ask yourself maybe a different way to ask this question, but here is the answer to where did your money go? Ready? Ta-ta! It was wants. Wants is kind of one of the major culprits that has us asking this type of question, where did our money go? If it trickles to things we don't need, it probably went to a want. When you find yourself that, and you can look at your experience, you can look at the things that you've bought, and you're very satisfied, then it's pretty much, you can consider they were needs. But if you find yourself that they go to things you don't need, then it probably went to a want. And so that's another way, where did your money go? When we see our credit bills start to build up, yeah, where did our money go? Usually wants make that happen. It's a very fine line now. I'm trying to make that thicker. We need to make it clear that a need is something we need for survival. It's very easy to use a credit card and go ahead and make that quick purchase. But then later, if we're having difficulty making the payment, wants is that variable. Wants are the hardest part, by the way, of personal finance. So you can get a CPA, you can get a financial expert. No one can crack this. That wants is something that is easy to manage, but wants is really the hardest part, and it's something that we constantly talk about as being the variable and the way that we can go ahead and try to reduce that. It's very difficult to get a grip on it. Very, very difficult. But with these tips that we're providing, with this awareness that we're providing, hopefully you just kind of look at your situation and then see how is it that you can better control your spending that way. Can become habit forming. And that's true. If we constantly start thinking of every want as a need because we don't see that fine distinction, then all of a sudden we find ourselves having, it becomes out of our control and becomes unconscious. And then we just start finding ourselves constantly spending money on wants. And so where did my money go becomes very typical. And that's one of the things we want to go ahead and avoid. I like to caution that don't be tempted to slide things you really want and things you become accustomed to into the need category. Don't kid yourself. They are wants, okay? Don't justify, right? Make it very clear. Needs are things that I need to survive, and wants are things I desire. Okay. Are you welcome? Is it okay to desire? Of course it is. But don't be tempted to slide things you really want and things you've become accustomed to into the need category, right? So I'm going to leave you with 2 tips. The first tip is turn interest away from acquiring stuff and toward enjoying experiences. I've read some books where they talk about money management, and one of the things they say is that people are more satisfied with where their money is going if they can spend it on experiences, on things that create memories. Stuff does not create memories. You can agree or disagree in the chat room, but like I said, there was a comedian, what is his name? I can't remember. The chat room, if you guys know who that is, there was a comedian, he passed away, but he had a great skit on stuff, how we were just gathering a lot of stuff and we were never satisfied. So I'd like to invite you to heed this tip number 1, and here are some ways to do that. Stop obsessing or even thinking about the stuff, right? If it's constantly on our mind, it can drive us a little bit crazy to the point where it's right at the tip of our tongue. We got to get it, right? And you don't want to go ahead and do that. Focus on the experience. When you focus on the experience, it makes it more enjoyable. So for example, reading is an experience. The book that you purchased is the stuff, right? So in the end, after having read a good book, that's what's more memorable than just the book itself. Here's another one. Maximizing the current phone is an experience as opposed to buying the new and latest cell phone every time that it comes out. And I just just kind of told you before that if you're so accustomed always getting the newest and latest cell phone, that's something you may want to step back and kind of see, okay, well, maybe I need to experience my phone a little bit more. I need to maximize it. Maybe it can do other things that these new phones can do, and I guarantee you they can. For the most part, they can. Works with almost any hobby or personal interest that requires stuff. So turn interest away from acquiring stuff and towards enjoying experiences. So keep that in mind. It's very important. Here's your other tip that I'd like to leave you with, and that is to extract desires from your mind as quickly as possible. So as I mentioned before, if you're constantly thinking about it, that want, then it kind of may overpower some of the needs that you have, right? And I want to leave you with this tip of how to remove that thought process, how to remove those desires, not exclude them all entirely, but at least reduce them. Here's a way. If you stumble upon something to buy, get it out of your mind. Keeping wants in your mind, this is what happens when you keep them in your mind too long. They keep popping up, right? If you're thinking of a new smartphone, all of a sudden a commercial hits and it just keeps it right in your mind. It keeps it right in your mind because you're constantly thinking about it. Keeping wants in your mind also reinforces itself and it perceived as a need. So after a while, I think there's like a saying that says that if you think so much about something that it becomes true or something like that, but I don't know, I digress. But I'm just trying to say that if you keep believing yourself, this is what I want because it's on my mind, then after a while it's like, you know what, I think I really need it. And that's your mind tricking you. Keeping wants in your mind can also convince you to actually buy it. So not only have you been thinking and obsessing over it so much that at some point you go ahead and buy it. And that's very dangerous, right? Especially later when we find ourselves having that remorse that we spent too much money. Record your wants on paper so you don't continuously think about them. This is a great tip, by the way. This is how I'd like to encourage you guys to consider it. For example, I have an Amazon account, and in the Amazon account have a wish list. And in that wish list, I have all these wants. Just because one of the ways that I found to control myself is to record and write down the wants so that I can remove them from my mind. Once I put them on paper or on a wish list or on Amazon, whatever it is, then I forget about it. Periodically, I'll go back to the list and check it out. And because you have dumped it somewhere else, after a while, you don't start thinking about it. You don't start obsessing over it. You don't start convincing yourself that you have to buy it. So it just kind of makes it a little easier to handle. So I invite you guys to write down all your wants on paper. And sometimes you're going to look at that paper and be like, really? Do I really want that? No. If it's on your mind for a long time, then it reinforces and convinces you to buy, just kind of what I was mentioning. When it is recorded, the urgency and the want fades away. It's proven to work. I invite you guys to try it. And so finally, I just want to leave you with some lasting tips here. Before buying something, ask yourself, do I need this or do I just want it? And at the beginning of the presentation, I did clearly define for you, right? A need is something that's needed for survival, and a want is a desire. And so do I need this to survive, or do I just want it because I desire it, right? Give yourself some time to think about it. If you write your wants down on paper, it can help control your spending because it gives you time to think about it. When you put it on paper and let's say you put it on your nightstand and you come back to it, after putting some thought into it, you find yourself, and this is what I'm using myself as an example, I start throwing wants away. I start removing things from that wish list because maybe in that moment I was thinking so much about it that I think that I wanted it, but then later, forget it. I don't need it anymore. I'm sorry, I don't want it anymore. Here is something to also think about it when it comes to feelings. When you are purchasing something or wanting to purchase, is this the feel-good feeling versus the seeing the bill feeling? That's another way to gauge yourself. When you're ready to check out and go ahead and purchase that, are you feel like it's going to make you feel like, oh gosh, this is just another thing I got to put in my bill, in my credit card bill or something like that? Or is it something that really provides that experience, that feeling, like, this is so worth it because I won't feel so bad? How long does those feelings last? Something to kind of keep in mind. Think about what things are necessary for your day-to-day existence. That's a way to also control the needs versus wants. What are the things that are necessary for day-to-day? Write a list of them. I'm old school. I like to carry a pen and paper once in a while, a little notepad, and I just kind of write things down. anything I'm thinking. In this case, if if there was things that I wanted, I can just go ahead and write those down. And maybe having 2 columns, right? A need on left side, and then a wants on the other side, and then just kind of going back and forth. And then make sure in the middle you put a very thick line so that you know that there's a difference and things can cross over. So one of the other great tips, of course, is just to create a budget. Matter of fact, just in our last screen, I'm going to show you some places you can check this out. But creating a budget is a great way to go ahead and put some thought into your needs and your wants. It's another way to plan for your money. You work so hard to earn this money, and I don't care if it's financial aid. If you work hard, you put in the application, you are a very good student, you are deserving of this money. Once you have that money, you have the right to control where it goes and how it's supposed to be and used. Creating a budget helps you plan for it. It also helps you kind of give every dollar a job, as some other organizations have said. And I think that's very true. And so we plan for everything else, right? We plan for what are we going to wear today? Am I going to listen to Gregorio's webinar or not, right? Joking. But do we plan about how we're going to go ahead and spend our money? And I think that making a clear distinction and putting some thought into what a need and a want is, also creating a budget, setting money aside for the things that are important, needed, and then also saving maybe for the things we want, because you do have the right. The budget allows for that. And so I encourage you and invite you guys to do that. We are on Instagram. I invite you guys to follow us there. If you do Instagram, we try to spread the message in any way we can. And if you are into Instagram, go ahead and do that. We definitely are still on Facebook. And then we are also on, we have a YouTube channel. So the way you want to use the YouTube channel is that maybe after this webinar, you want to keep learning about budgeting. Maybe Gregorio talked about needs versus wants. We have our own channel called CSUN Financial Literacy. When you go to that channel, you'll go ahead and be able to select all these other videos. They're very short videos. And just keep learning to empower yourself about making informed decisions, because you're getting information. And then in the end, you are that much better when it comes to making that decision. So I invite you to do that. We actually, one of the latest videos that we put up there is how to save money on textbooks. I invite you to check out that video. You think that maybe just renting books is one of the options? No, there's 9 others, but I won't go into that because I'd like you guys to watch the video. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you in the next webinar. Bye-bye.